Oh my God, see, I love this because you guys are representing for LA and people are watching this on the live stream all over the world. So one more time, how are you doing? We're gonna get along really, really well. As Chris said, I'm Carol Roth and I am so excited to be right here in LA to kick off Virgin Atlantic's Business is an Adventure series. I want to get to know you guys a little bit before we get into things. So first of all, just quick show of hands. How many of you are LA natives, born and raised from LA? Oh, we get shouts too. I love you guys. Okay. How many of you have been here for at least 5 years, but not native? Okay, not quite as shouty as the natives, but that's okay. How many of you haven't had enough caffeine today and have no idea where you are? I completely don't judge, so no worries there. As I said, I'm really excited to be here. I have been working with businesses and entrepreneurs for more than 20 years. And as you look at me and going, wow, she looks so young. How is that possible? I mean, did she start when she was like 7? I feel that you guys are very generous. It's obviously not the case. I started when I was 9. So I have advised companies from an entrepreneur with an idea on the back of a napkin up to major multinationals on billions of dollars in transactions and transformation initiatives. Kind of seen everything, been an entrepreneur in my own right, and I play myself on television amongst other things. So as I put this all together in an entrepreneurial bubble, I know firsthand about the process of patience, of reinvention, of perseverance, and really the rewards that makes business an adventure. So that takes us to Virgin Atlantic, who also believes that business is an adventure. And this year, the transatlantic airline is launching a mission to uncover how America's brightest business leaders make that adventure epic. So this event is the very first stop on the tour, and we have gathered some of LA's best and most brilliant business minds here together, which includes you guys, so you can cheer for that. And really, we wanted to bring everyone together in one space to share the ideas, and that is really a lot of the core of what being an entrepreneur is about and what makes business that adventure. One of the things that we're going to be exploring today is the idea of why simple solutions cross borders, which obviously seems like a very natural fit here in Los Angeles, because you have had so many amazing but seemingly simple ideas go out and completely rock the world. And we have some of the founders who are responsible for many of those ideas here today and cannot wait to hear their insights and to share with you. Now, before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about why Virgin Atlantic is running this event. First, LA, being the very first stop on the tour, has always been a very important market for Richard Branson's transatlantic airline. They started flying between LA and London more than 25 years ago. And just over the last year, they've added a second daily service. They've started flying one of those really cool 787 Dreamliners on the route. And how many of you have checked out their very cool hip clubhouse at LAX? Anybody been there yet? Yeah, if you haven't, you've got to get there. Very, very swanky. So all these things are very good for business travelers, but the reason that Virgin Atlantic is actually very focused on the LA region is because they see the growth in business travel here directly as a result from an increasing number of entrepreneurs, startups, and leaders who are sparking new ideas and businesses. So they want to help support the community's growth, and that means not just enabling travel on a global basis, but also enabling the sharing of ideas globally. So again, that's why they brought all of you wonderful, brilliant, like-minded folks here together, and we're going to celebrate how LA's entrepreneurial scene is soaring. Now, we couldn't do this event without the help of some partners. and Virgin Atlantic has tapped a few organizations that are playing a big role in fostering the growth of the LA entrepreneurial scene to make this event happen. So I want to just take a quick minute to recognize those. First is General Assembly. How many of you have ever taken a class through General Assembly? Any folks out there? Super cool. If you're not familiar with General Assembly, they are a global education company that are empowering a global community to pursue work they love. I love that. And that includes thousands of adults right here in LA who have attended events, taken courses, taken workshops, classes, in all different disciplines. So data, design, technology, and business. And they've done that through one of General Assembly's 3 LA locations. Second up, we have WeWork. Any folks here working at WeWork? WeWork members? Awesome. Well, WeWork has almost 60 locations around the world already, and they are dedicated to helping people work to make a life, not just a living. Through their newest Los Angeles location, the Gas Tower building, WeWork really serves as a local resource for LA's community of creators looking to pursue their life's work. So a big round of applause for WeWork. And I also want to give special thanks to Entrepreneur for their support leading up to today. And if you have any friends who may be at home who haven't jumped on the live stream, send them a text, send them an email. They can jump on the live stream right now at entrepreneur.com and watch what you're watching from the comfort of their home or office. Now, how many of you are social sharers, like to tweet out important things that are being shared, Instagram, anything? Social sharers? All right, so if you are a social sharer, or if you have a question for our panel, we're going to be taking a lot of questions through Twitter. So make sure you use the handle @VirginAtlantic and the hashtag #LetItFlyLA. And again, we're going to be picking some of those questions from Twitter at the end. So @VirginAtlantic and #LetItFlyLA. Now would be the point when I introduce our guest of honor, the mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti. However, unfortunately, he had a little emergency today. He had to attend to the recent developments of a gas leak cap in Porter Ranch, which I feel like is a very valid excuse. But if you know Mayor Garcetti, he is such a huge proponent of entrepreneurs. He's really created LA as a destination for people who want to start businesses. So he didn't just say, good luck, hope that you have a great event. He actually sent over a statement that I want to share with you. And so I will now be playing the part of Mayor Eric Garcetti. I am sorry I could not be here today, but I want to thank Sir Richard Branson and Virgin Atlantic for convening a collection of such dynamic people. You all represent the business leaders, entrepreneurs, and the leading thinkers of tomorrow. Los Angeles is an incubator of great ideas. I cannot think of a better place for visionaries to the likes of Sir Richard Branson, whose vision has crossed borders and eras. Many visionaries like him have demonstrated that it is simple ideas that change the world. And as mayor, I have focused on fostering the entrepreneurial climate here in Los Angeles, and we have seen the fruits of that thanks to the creative talent and leaders assembling in this city. Thank you. So thank you, Mayor Garcetti. He was such a huge supporter of this event. So sad that he couldn't be here with us, but love that statement from him. All right, so now we're getting ready to kick things off, and I am going to introduce somebody who I believe probably needs no introduction, but to be proper, we will do it anyway, and that is Sir Richard Branson. As you well know, he is the founder of Virgin Atlantic and the Virgin Group. And for those of you who may be confused by the hundreds of businesses that he has his hands on, Virgin is a leading international investment group, and it's one of the world's most recognized and respected, as well, in my opinion, fun and irreverent brands. Conceived in 1970. Yeah. I still have more nice things to say about you, Richard. We would say. Thank you. Just so you know, they have gone on to grow simple ideas Come sit by me. I swear I won't bite. I swear I won't bite, Richard. Thank you so much. But
Hi,
really,
everybody. Everybody good? Thank you.
This is an amazing crowd.
Thanks
isn't
for
it?
coming.
It's an amazing crowd we have here with us today. You know, Richard, you're obviously a very busy person, so appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, but I want to understand, you know, why personally are you passionate about doing an event series like this? And tell us a little bit about why LA is your first stop.
Actually, I hate to say it, but it's our second stop. We did Detroit. But they
don't count because this is LA, and LA is first.
No, we did Detroit because Detroit needs entrepreneurs. It needs rebuilding. It's a great. And they are beginning to get back on their feet again, which is wonderful. And it was even better that the mayor of Detroit, when we were there, said, you know, could you talk to the powers that be in Washington and try to, you know, we'd love to have all these immigrants from Syria come to Detroit. We've got all these empty houses. Let's give them a decent life here and rebuild it. So, I've been an entrepreneur for 50 years, since I was 15, and I've loved every minute of it. Not every minute, but pretty well every minute. And I think it's high time that I and other successful entrepreneurs shared thoughts and ideas and as to how we got here. And then hopefully it'll be useful for one or two people who are building their businesses or thinking of going into business.
Just one or two people find use in that.
Well, we'll see.
I want to talk about the business as an adventure theme. When we think about the words business and adventure, your name's got to pop into just about everybody's heads. What does that mean to you personally and to Virgin Atlantic as a brand?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's a mistake to think of business as a business. I mean, the business is not about dollars and cents. It's about creating something really special that's going to make a wonderful, positive difference to other people's lives, and that's really what a business is. And it's a great adventure to make a big difference to other people's lives, to create something that you and the team around you can be really proud of, and you know, that wonderful feedback you get when you've achieved that, you know, makes you glow all over, and you know, it gives you the incentive then to move on and create something else. And I've been lucky that we've had a lifetime of generally positive feedback, and which has spurred me on to do new things.
So when I think about entrepreneurs and adventure, certainly entrepreneurs have to embrace adventure somewhat, or they're not going to be entrepreneurs. But I think a lot of them get stuck with fear and with doubt. So can you share some of the times that maybe you had some fear and doubt along the way, as well as maybe some best practices that if you're an entrepreneur who's facing that fear, how you can put that aside to seize the business adventure?
Well, if you start really young, you've got nothing to lose. So one advantage of quitting school at 15, I hope there are no parents here. One of the advantages of leaving school at 15 or 16 is you haven't got a mortgage, you haven't got a partner, you haven't got children. So it doesn't actually matter if you fall flat on your face. It gets more difficult once you've been to college and you've done your business course, and maybe you've got your first mortgage, and maybe you've got your first partner, and you're thinking of having children. Then it becomes a trickier decision, and it takes a lot more bravery than to give it a go. I would still recommend giving it a go. I think the fun of trying is enormous. What you'll learn from trying is enormous. And then if you're lucky enough to succeed, it's obviously very, very satisfying. If you don't succeed, hopefully you're now not out on the street after this bit of advice. Try to start again. And if you haven't got the resources to do it yourself, there are now so many different internet sites, and there are so many people out there with cash that will invest in really good ideas. That if you've got a good enough idea, you should be able to find somebody to help fund you.
Have you ever had any fear or doubt, the hundreds of businesses you've started, anything that made you pause for even just a moment?
Obviously last year when we had the space accident, that gave us 24 hours of soul searching, and it was only after, meeting all our engineers, meeting the families, talking to our astronauts in waiting, seeing that everybody wanted us to continue, that we decided to push ahead. And delighted to say that tomorrow, my 1-year-old granddaughter, Eva Dea, is going to be, instead of throwing a champagne, she's going to be throwing a milk bottle onto the spaceship, and we've got the new spaceship being unveiled tomorrow. So, yeah.
And I think you make an important point that any entrepreneur can take away, because you went to a community of supporters to get past that fear and doubt. So whether it's other entrepreneurs or someone in their company, that's something that anyone in the audience or anyone who's listening could do as well.
Yeah, I think the time that by having a the phrase family with companies gets used too often by a lot of companies that where working in that particular company is anything but a family. So I would hope that everybody in this room who's running companies is running their company like a family. And if you're running it like a family, you can enjoy the good times together, but when things are really tough, you can all rally around and help the family get through it. We're lucky at Virgin. We really do feel like a family, and if somebody's having a tough time, everybody rallies around.
I want to move to the concept of simple solutions.
We've got 2 people standing outside there. Do you think we should invite them in?
We'll get them in one second.
It's not much fun out there.
I promise.
I'm trying, everybody.
I promise we'll bring them in one moment to add to the conversation. But one more question for you, just about your philosophy of being customer-centric. When I think about Virgin, a lot of your ideas were to take maybe something that existed, create a challenger brand, but something that was very focused on the customer, something that really met their needs in a different way. Can you talk a little bit about that philosophy?
Yeah, well, since Virgin Atlantic have been good enough to pay the bills today, I'll use Virgin Atlantic as the example. See, I do my bit, we started with literally one second-hand 747 30 years ago. In those days, you were lucky if you had a lump of cold chicken dumped in your lap. There was no entertainment. The cabin crew didn't smile, you just felt like cattle going from A to B, and that's why I just thought, screw this, we can make this a much more fun experience, I remember distinctly ringing up the head of Boeing and saying, hello, my name's Richard Branson. Do you have any second-hand 747s for sale?
I'm sure they get those calls every day.
and I was 27, 28 years old, and they said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I have a company called Virgin. We've got the Sex Pistols, we've got the Rolling Stones. And there was a long pause, but they didn't actually put the phone down on me, and they were good enough to, their final line of the call was, Richard, maybe you should change the name of the airline, because with a name like Virgin, nobody will know whether it's going to go the whole way. Anyway,
We're glad that you stood strong in that advice. Yeah.
So, but I think, so if you're going to create an airline that's competing with airlines that are, like we were taking on British Airways, 300 planes, we had one plane. We were taking on Pan Am with 250 planes, TWA with 300 planes, Air Florida with 200 planes.
And it's amazing, you're still here today, and many of those companies aren't.
19 of the 20 who we competed with disappeared, and that just goes down to give people what they want in your quality-wise, and people come back again and again and again.
All right, so you want to bring some additional people in this conversation?
I think we should.
All right, so let's bring out the rest of the panel. Please help me welcome to the stage Cassey Ho, the founder of Blogilates, Miguel McKelvey, the co-founder of WeWork, and Sean Rad, the founder and CEO of Tinder. Coming out here, guys.
Virgin Red.
Virgin Red, yes. I dressed for the event.
And let me just give each one of these entrepreneurs a proper introduction. Cassey Ho, who is the founder of Blogilates, is an award-winning fitness instructor, an entrepreneur, and an online personality. And she is the creator of Blogilates, which is the #1 female fitness channel on YouTube with, get this, over 300 million video views and 2.8 million subscribers. Such an inspiration, Cassey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I know that you will all want to swipe right on Sean Rad, who is the founder and CEO of Tinder, the world's leading social app for meeting new people. And we think about a global reach. Tinder is connecting people in all 196 countries and is a top 10 lifestyle app in more than 70 countries. So Sean, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And then, of course, last but not least, we have Miguel McKelvey, who is the co-founder of WeWork, and he's also its chief creative officer, and he directs all of the architecture and design and construction activities and has been involved in the early stage development of many, many startups, so a lot of good perspectives to add. So Miguel, welcome. All right, so I want to take this conversation micro to start and talk a little bit about the nature of the LA entrepreneurial culture and some of what maybe the rest of the world can learn from the entrepreneurs in LA. So Cassey, I'm going to kick things off with you. We're talking about how simple ideas really can take off, and everyone on this panel is a great example of that. How do you think your brand took off to be this global sensation on a global level from something that was just an idea? What's some of your secret behind that?
It all has to come from a place where you want to help people and genuinely want to do that. So back in 2009, when I put up my first YouTube video, I was teaching to a class of maybe 40 people at 24 Hour Fitness in Whittier, California. I was moving to my first job in Boston, so all my students were like, Cassey, I'm gonna miss you. What are we gonna do? So I said, all right, well, I'll shoot a little video, I'll put it up on YouTube, and you can do that when you miss me. And I didn't realize it at the time, but so many other people were gonna be watching the YouTube video, and it was a way to make fitness free and accessible without any equipment. You could do it at home, and that's kind of how Blogilates started, just from my wanting to teach people.
And is there anything about LA in particular and what you've learned being part of this community that you think helped inspire you along the way?
Being in LA is really special for a YouTube creator. I think it's become a hub for YouTube people. Anytime you want to collaborate, you just text your friend and be like, hey, we'll be in this video with me, and then they will come, and then you collaborate, and it's so easy. And when you make these genuine relationships, then you can promote each other on each other's channels, and it becomes very organic, because I only like to collaborate with people who are actually my friends, people who have a common vision and who like to work hard, and also people who aren't just trying to get famous and rich. I mean, it'll happen, but you have to have a different.
Not that there's anything wrong with
that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's that
Right.
original intention. And so I've created this really nice group of people in LA that we collaborate with all the time, and it's been fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Sean, when I think of that global reach, Tinder being a top 10 lifestyle app in more than 70 countries, you've really taken something from this local market and exploded it around the globe. What do you think your secret is?
Well, I think what's special about LA is the diversity that you have here. So we're not living when you walk out of the office, the Tinder office, you walk down the street, you sort of get this diverse sense of people from different backgrounds, from different professions, and it makes you feel closer to who you're building these products for. And for any consumer tech company, the closer you are to the user, for any company, the closer you are to the customer, the better you understand them, the more empathy you have, the better decisions you're going to make, and the better job you're going to do innovating forward for them. So I think what's special about LA is both the people that work at the companies in LA come from such a diverse background, and then the people you're socializing with out of work also give you that diverse perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cassey mentioned the YouTubers, you mentioned innovation. Miguel, when you think about creativity and innovation, you have people in your WeWork spaces who are really exemplifying that. What do you think is special about LA in terms of the capacity for LA entrepreneurs to be creative and to innovate?
I think a lot of what we see is, aspiration. The cool thing about LA is that so many people have come here to follow their dream. And I think maybe in the past that was more related to entertainment, but now it's diversified in so many ways. And so, like Sean said, you're finding people who are perhaps inspired by the history and of coming here to chase their dream, but now they're doing a huge variety of things. So when we did our first building, we were a little bit outsiders. We're we got to be in Hollywood because that's where movies are made and all the creatives will be there. But the reality is that people all over the city are creative and are pursuing their passion, in so many different ways. So that's been really cool to see that happen in, here in downtown LA, in Santa Monica, in Hollywood. It's everywhere.
So one of the things that entrepreneurs are always in need of is resources, whether it's resources for support, whether it's resources for investment. Do you have any favorite secret resources that are available in LA that you want to share with the audience, Cassey?
Special resources?
Yeah, any resources. So, whether it's, a place that you like to go to meet with other entrepreneurs, other organizations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the YouTube Space LA is actually a really cool place to start.
Tinder's not bad.
Tinder, I haven't been there. That's right. Yeah, YouTube Space LA, they let you, if you are a creator with over a certain amount of subscribers, you can go there and rent a red cam for free. You can shoot on a green screen. That's a really cool free resource for creators. And then a lot of YouTubers now have, we just built out our own studio, so we invite YouTubers over, we do collaborations there, so that I don't have to be filming just at home or in an apartment or something. So we all share our homes with each other.
That's
like
amazing.
a filming resource.
Miguel, obviously WeWork is a great hub, but any other resources for support or even investment in LA that you want to share?
Well, I think for us, we're still, a place where hopefully those connections happen. We're definitely trying to create a platform where everyone is sort of coming together. And I think as we evolve, I think that's a need that is growing here, places where people to gather together, because it is disparate. There are, a lot of places divided amongst neighborhoods. And so I think creating more places where people are coming together and that entrepreneurial energy is really, coalescing in one place is definitely necessary. So we hope to be a part of that.
That's great. I want to switch up the conversation a little bit and talk about building global reputations in businesses. Richard, obviously this is directly in your wheelhouse. You've done this maybe a couple hundred times. So can you talk about some of your highlights and maybe even some of your challenges along the way in terms of building that global brand and business?
Well, I think first of all, if you have an idea, like a Tinder, like any of the ideas on stage, and most companies, you shouldn't just think of, if you live in Great Britain, you shouldn't just think of Great Britain. If you live in America, you shouldn't just think of Great Britain, of America. You should think of the world as one country, and it's a lot more, it's a lot more fun to think of the world as one country, because it means that, when we started our record company many years ago, we, instead of licensing our product to other people, we set up our own record companies in France and Germany and Japan and Australia and so on. And when we had the hits, the profit margin was much bigger, and having built up the brand in these countries, then we would start signing local French artists or local German artists, and we became over the years a brand to be reckoned with. So I think the key thing is to try to come up with a brand for your company that can work internationally. Saudi Arabia, for instance, has just launched Virgin Mobile. We thought we'd never be able to break into Saudi Arabia with our brand. But anyway, definitely think global, which a lot of people don't do. And for instance, I was talking to Jamie Smirnoff from Ring earlier, who's a very good company in LA, and he's built a formidable company in America, but people are beginning to copy him overseas, and I think it's important, and I know it's difficult because you're so busy building your business, but it's important for him to find the time to find somebody to go and get Ring going in other countries around the world, because it's when you've got a formula like that, you want to turn it global.
Sean, obviously, you're in so many different countries. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are attempting to expand into global markets?
We have users all over the world, and we're now starting to open offices in different parts of the world, so we can again get closer to the users. But what I've noticed is that your culture dilutes with distance. And if you don't have a strong home base and a strong culture and way of doing things, then overseas it will dilute to almost nothing. So I think my biggest advice, and one thing we're going through, is before we expand the team beyond our sort of headquarters, we're making sure that we have a strong understanding of who we are, what our goals are, and that we know how to translate that. We know how to translate it within our own roof, but we know how to translate it across borders. Nowadays, millennials are very focused on not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. What is the purpose behind what they're doing? And if you can't explain on a global level to your workforce why their job is important and why it's impacting the world, then you're going to fail. And I think companies need to evolve to do a better job of that. And doing that on a global scale is even more challenging. It's already challenging doing it in one place,
right.
But
So,
I'm gonna have to tell my Tinder story.
Yes, we all want to hear this one for sure.
And by the way, this is the 40th anniversary of me being married to this year. So, just to show how far Tinder reaches. So we live on a little island in the Caribbean. It's 72 acres, and these people booked the island. They all arrived, and there was one single girl who arrived on the island, and her first night there, she decided to get onto Tinder and send out a help. I'm a single girl. I'm in the Caribbean. Is there anyone out there?
I didn't know they were distress calls, but good to know.
And she gets this response, I'm in the Caribbean. So she goes back and says, well, actually, I'm on a tiny little island, and I'm about to have sushi from a canoe in a pool. And the response was, oh, well, I'm the chef who's about to give you sushi. And they ended up getting together, and I think there's still an item.
Wow.
So,
and
thank you.
And that chef bringing the sushi, that wasn't an innuendo. That's actually what happened,
He
right?
was- he was out-
Just clarifying that.
He was the actual chef.
Similar anecdote, there's two scientists in Antarctica. I think there's like 30 people living in Antarctica who met on Tinder. And they're also together. True story.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you think...
Who's met on Tinder in this room? Anybody?
Anything?
Oh yeah, look, I've seen a few little hands. There's
few
sneaky
hands,
hands. They're putting them up quickly and then putting them down again. we won't say who you are, but I've just counted 50 hands.
I want to go back.
My mum's there. Mum, you should go onto Tinder.
I want to go back, Sean, to what you were saying about the culture and starting culture very strongly in your home base before bringing it internationally. Any thoughts about bringing people from your home base to start internationally? Because obviously you want to transport that culture,
Absolutely.
but you want to also honor the culture of wherever it is you're going.
Absolutely. We encourage the team to travel. I think I didn't believe in sort of going to the countries. I think when you start out as a small little startup, you sort of think that you can capture the essence of every country from just being where you are, especially now that information is so accessible. But myself, even 2 years ago, we did, I traveled to a few countries throughout Europe, and I was just shocked at how, when you talk to people, how Tinder has a different definition based on the society, people's backgrounds. And in order for us to grow the company, we need to understand how people look at the product so we know how to make it better for every constituent there is. So I think we encourage, whether it's the product team, the marketing team, the growth team, to go visit different countries and set up focus groups and understand our users. And likewise, our team around the world, we bring them to LA all the time. And we get to know them and we immerse them into the culture, because I think you want your team, number one, again, to understand why what they're doing is so important to the world, to them, but also, like, we underestimate, especially nowadays, like, just the value of being physically in a room together, right? You can't, like, the phone, whatever, you can't translate physical interaction, and there's just nothing like enjoying an experience together.
That's like the Tinder motto, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys caught on to that. Good. I'm very quick, so you have to keep up with me up here. All right, so Miguel, I want to talk about advice for getting started, because you have started moving into international locations, globalizing your business. How important do you think it is when you're first starting out to be thinking about being global one day from day one?
I think for us, I mean, my partner is Israeli, and I'm from Oregon, and we met in New York. And Oregon, in some ways, is a more exotic place to New Yorkers than Israel is. But we both had that perspective that, like, we're coming from far away, and so I think we, from the beginning, felt like we were gonna reach out, and it's not just other places in the United States, but certainly internationally. We had that idea from the beginning. And so I think we always had the perspective that we had, like, a massive problem to solve. And so it really, like, created a context in which it allowed us to really think big from the beginning. So rather than, like, sort of realizing, well, wow, this problem is really big today, it really put a much bigger context that, like, look, we're going to try to be an international company and very quickly. And so therefore, it allowed us to always be like, what's, like, the best solution to this problem? Not like what will get us halfway there, but we're going to need to do this in Israel next year, so we got to do it right. And I think that's a good context. The other part is, I think you got to be really confident in what you're doing. If you're not confident, in LA or in New York, you can't imagine that it's going to work in London or Tel Aviv or Amsterdam. So you got to be super committed and really believe in it, and then it will translate, that confidence.
Yeah, and Cassey, I want to bring you into this conversation, because you and I were talking offline, and when you put that first YouTube video up in 2009, you had no idea that you were going to get 300 million views and 2.8 million subscribers. So for someone like you who maybe started without that global perspective, how do you harness that once you realize that that's something that's pretty important to your business?
I've always listened to my community, my fans, I call them popsters, as guidance for what's next. And they were the ones who first said, hey, we really like this. Can we have a butt video? Can we have an arm video? And so every couple months I would release something. And then when it started getting serious and I was able to quit my job, then they started asking for clothing. And I said, all right, I'm going to try designing some clothing. And then that became my own activewear brand. And the great thing is that it's that immediate feedback with social media, so you can really test things super fast, and if it doesn't work, you just retract and you try again. And I think that coming from a place where I didn't know where Blogilates was going to be, you've just got to trust yourself, trust your community, and give them what they want, because they're the ones who basically gave me what I have today. So I always am grateful for this community, and I'm always there to serve them. So I think as long as I keep doing that, then the right things will happen.
And I'm just going to tie that together because that's exactly what Richard was saying before. If you serve that customer, if you do right by the customer, then they're going to be there for you.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to talk about what the future of global business might look like. And Richard, you've been doing this for quite some time. You've, I'm sure, seen the pace of change accelerate in the last few years as technology has become democratized. So if you had a crystal ball, how do you think global business will change over the next few years?
How do I think it will change? I think as I've got older, I would love it if more and more of the institutional money could be invested in business, but business that is making it, a really positive difference in the world. So, so we've got to get to carbon neutral by 2050 as a globe. It needs enormous amounts of money for us to get there, and it'd be wonderful if we can power the world with the sun and with wind and so on. In Africa, there's 600 million people who don't have any energy. Companies are starting and need to start to give them energy and make sure it's clean energy. So I think what I'd love to see over the next 20 or 30 years is the rate of people being pulled out of poverty on a global basis being at least as fast as it is today, and it is good. And I think for all of us, if we've got spare cash to invest in ventures which will contribute to that. So, just one other thing that we're actually doing, which is we're putting an array of satellites around the Earth so that the 4 billion people who don't have internet or Wi-Fi access can be connected. And if you don't have internet access, you can't get your website, you're going to be the poorer for it. And whereas those people who do have internet access are likely to be the people who are the wealthier.
So you're seeing a lot more purpose that then ultimately drives profit, but maybe leading with the purpose.
Yeah, look, most businesses have a purpose in themselves. But, if you've got a choice of, a business to make money in the Maldives that's run by a wicked dictator, or business to make money in Ghana, which is not run by a wicked dictator, choose Ghana. It's just all the time just looking at the different options. And if you're going to spend your time, a lot of your life running something, try to make sure that you're really, really, really proud of what you're doing. But I also think those of us who've got some influence over the institutions need to try to get them, to, instead of investing in the coal-fired power stations, which is a dying industry, persuade them to invest in a new clean industry.
Well said. Sean, I want to go over to you and talk about technology in the future, because obviously you're very entrenched in technology in the here and now, but